Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. I'm Dr. Mays, University of Atheno, PhD. We got ourselves a new trailer for the highly anticipated Breath of the Wild 2, which, just like my PhD, is amazing. The first few weeks and months after a discovery like this are often crucial to the Zelda theory community, as it is around this time that everybody will be combing through the footage, reversing it, slowing it down, flipping it upside down, all in the hopes that they might be the first to discover a hidden clue in this new trailer. And that's amazing, right? I mean, Zelda's hip again, everybody's talking and discussing. They are indeed exciting times. But it's also during this time that a lot of theories become widely popular. But then later, it turns out that these don't exactly hold up. Remember that whole Seal Ganon debacle? The problem is that by the time these ideas have been put to the test by others, they've been seen by so many people that they keep popping up in discussions long after they've been either challenged or flat out disproven. I mean, I still get comments about the whole Seal Ganon thing on my videos to this day, which makes me not happy. That's why for the new trailer for Breath of the Wild 2, I'll be covering some claims and findings which I feel should be at least challenged with counter evidence or debunked if possible. Now, I gotta be clear about this. This is all in good fun. I don't want to be that guy, that Zelda elitist who likes to shame people for their ideas. I actually enjoy that there's a discussion going on, and I highly encourage people to put their ideas out there. I just want to give my take on the matter and see if I can convince people to think differently. After all, that's how we get closer to the truth. Today we'll be talking about one specific subject, that being music. But before we kick things off, proper science cannot be conducted without funding. After all, who's gonna pay for this fancy magnifying glass? So first, a word from our sponsor.
Do you enjoy watching things on the internet? Oh my god, me too, let's be best friends. Well, if you do, some of you might be familiar with a screen like this one. That's right, my friend, you are being punished for being born in the wrong country. If you crave to get around this crime against humanity, enjoy some added security and or keep those Nintendo ninjas off your back, then consider giving Atlas VPN a try. Atlas VPN, which currently has more than 5 million users worldwide, is a tool that encrypts your data and hides your virtual location. I have no idea how this works, but that's why I make YouTube videos. What I do know is that when you connect to a VPN server, your device is given a new IP and DNS address, kinda like a secret passport, i.e. you will be the ninja around here. Another great feature is the data breach monitor. By inserting your email address, the tool scans the internet to see if it ended up in any recorded data breaches or data dumps that include emails, names, passwords, or other sensitive information. Enabling notifications ensures that you are aware of such incidents and gives you a heads up to change your passwords before anyone has a chance to steal your accounts. An added bonus is that Atlas VPN works on any device, so you can have only one account for the whole family to use. So even you non-PC Master Race casuals can use it. It also provides a 30-day money-back guarantee for all subscription purchases. So say for instance you want to watch a British show like Top Gear, which is only available on Netflix UK, you simply open up Atlas, connect to a UK server, and gaze at expensive cars that you and I will likely never own. Currently, Atlas VPN is running a big discount on their 3-year deal for just $1.39 per month. So if you're interested, don't hesitate to check it out by clicking the link in the video description down below, as this deal won't last for long. Go to atlasvpn/monstermaze to grab your $1.39 per month deal. Again, that's atlasvpn/monstermaze. And now, back to our regular program. Alright, let's talk music. More specifically, hidden tracks or references people claim to hear in the new trailer, especially when played in reverse. Whenever a new trailer drops, playing it in reverse to see if there's any secret Illuminati messages to be heard seems to be one of the first things people do. And it's only natural. Nintendo has on certain occasions been hiding little secrets and references in their music before. Ones which can only be heard when the track is either played in reverse, like the way they expertly incorporated Zelda's Lullaby in the Ballad of the Goddess from Skyward Sword, or the song's notes are spaced out or changed rhythmically to a degree that only those who listen closely will pick up on it. Then there's a few more obvious ones which aren't necessarily hidden, but are still a nice callback to a previous game. A good example being the track that plays in and around Hyrule Castle, which contains sections from Zelda's Lullaby, the tune Ganondorf plays on his organ in Ocarina of Time, and the original Zelda theme, all neatly wrapped into one song. But the thing that all these musical Easter eggs have in common is that they are all undeniably there. The notes and or chord progressions are one for one and don't require the use of your imagination. Which brings us to the recent claims about Breath of the Wild 2's music. We'll start with the one that received the most attention, coming in at 268k views at the time of writing this script. A user named Taco made a video claiming that when reversing the track that plays when Hyrule Castle is seen rising, it matches a song called The Events of 100 Years Ago, which plays during the cutscene where King Rome talks about the backstory of Calamity Ganon and the events which led up to the destruction of Hyrule. This video is also a main contributor to the reason why people believe that the game will feature time travel. But is this really a solid piece of evidence, or just our brains making connections that aren't there simply because there's a similarity? Well, as you might have guessed, the latter is most likely the case. In fact, after looking into it a bit deeper, I'm not even worried about being wrong anymore. To demonstrate, I've recreated both tracks as presented in Taco's video. So keep in mind, the section from the trailer music is the reversed version, as it is only then when it's supposed to match the other song. Obviously, there's a noticeable difference in speed between the two original tracks. The one from 100 years ago is significantly slower than the one heard in the trailer. But this doesn't disprove a connection since, as we've demonstrated before, the speed and rhythm are sometimes purposely changed, either to match the song they are hidden in, or to mask the song in a clever way. As long as the note progression and scale match, it could be considered a fair piece of evidence. For the sake of this comparison, I've programmed the two songs so they play at the exact same speed. This makes it easier to hear both the similarities and the differences. So, are there any similarities? Well, yes. There definitely are. For starters, each of the two tracks starts with an F. Both consist of a total of 6 notes which even move up and down the scale in the same way. 3 rising notes, then it drops back down and we get another 3 rising notes. Unfortunately for Taco, this is also where the similarities end. The actual scale used in the tracks are not comparable. The events from 100 years ago is a bit more conventional, going from an F to an A sharp to a D sharp, then dropping down to a G sharp, D, and then G. The trailer music uses a lot of semitones, which gives it that ominous vibe. It goes from F to B to C, then A, D sharp, and finally E. Overlaying the two tracks shows just how different they really are. If this was supposed to be a reference, it would be a terrible one. And playing the songs at the same time reveals just how incompatible they really are with one another. Youch. It bears repeating that just because the notes move similarly on their respective scale doesn't mean that they are connected in any way. The pattern of 3 climbing notes dropping back down and then another 3 rising notes is quite a common thing to do in music. As an example, a recent song from Age of Calamity called A Quiet Moment also opens up with a similar pattern. So no, I do not believe that there's any correlation between these two songs. If there was, there wouldn't be so many conflicting notes. Now let's cover a theory which didn't reach as wide of an audience as the one from Taco, but still managed to garner an impressive 20k views. This one is by Ace Monkey, who suggests that Breath of the Wild 2's music hides another, more iconic song from the series, namely the Song of Time, and similar to Taco, uses it as leverage to prove that Breath of the Wild 2 will feature time travel. The big difference between this finding and the one we covered previously is that here, the notes are not the problem. At least, they're not conflicting. The problem is the implication. Let's quickly listen to what Ace Monkey has to say.
Let's hear the first 4 notes of the sequel's theme. We have the notes E, C, D, and A. Alright, now let's play it in reverse. Did you guys hear it?
So right away I have to ask, Ace, dude, Bro dude, why are you ignoring the double A at the end? You acknowledge it when you play the song forward, but in reverse you suddenly ignore it and only play the A once. I get that it's about a theme, but I have to wonder if you left it out because it's not relevant, or because it wouldn't sound as convincing with the extra A included. Second, if this was supposed to be a secret reference to the Song of Time, which can only be heard when playing the music backwards, why would they not only include a small, incomplete version of the song, but also what is perhaps the least recognizable part of it? The first 6 notes of the song is the part that everybody knows.
You know, the part that you have to play like 1,000 times over the course of the game.
The section referred to here is the tail end of the song. And is even missing that last D at the end to round off the song properly. In the trailer music, it instead goes back to an E and then moves on to a B beyond that point. So that's also where the similarities in the note progression end altogether. I might not be a music teacher, but as someone who's played in various bands for years and has written dozens of songs during my quote-unquote musical career, I can tell you from first-hand experience that it's extremely easy to write a song with the exact same notes or chord progressions unintentionally, and without even realizing it. Not to mention, all of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask's recognizable music was all written within the confines of the same 5 notes available on the ocarina. There are many songs that feature the exact same notes, just played in a different order and timing. Examples being Zelda's Lullaby and Epona's song, which feature the same 3 notes. And the Song of Healing is literally the notes from Saria's song, just played in reverse. I have to appeal to your sense of logic. To say that just because there's one specific section in the song that has a couple, and I repeat, a very select couple of matching notes, which only form an incomplete, less recognizable part of the song, to then conclude, Song of Time, hence time travel, is stretching it quite a bit, wouldn't you agree?
But you know what? Don't take it from me. I'm just a guy who likes to rock out in his spare time. I might have an awesome PhD, but I don't have a degree in music theory. So to make absolutely sure that I'm not missing anything, I've asked my good friend Tim the Mon for his opinion.
Not only does he teach music and has composed countless of his own renditions of famous Zelda tracks and tracks from other franchises such as Mario, but he also plays like a zillion different instruments. So let's see what he has to say on the matter.
Hey there, my name is Tim de Man. I'm not a music theory expert either, but I used to be a music teacher in a different life. I've spent the last 5 years studying the Breath of the Wild soundtrack here on YouTube and have made dozens of arrangements of Zelda music in all kinds of styles since then. I think it's really cool that people listen to Zelda music in such an active and analytical way. All that reversing stuff up is getting on my nerves though. I'm just kidding. Or am I? In general, people hear a lot of similarities in Zelda music. For example, I can hear a lot of similarities between Korok Forest, The Dark World from A Link to the Past, and Song of Storms. Let me play it for you. That's fun. But Korok Forest, cheerful and relaxed, and The Dark World, heroic and slightly, well, dark, and Song of Storms with its bonkers windmill action have little in common thematically. So are they referencing each other? But Did you also know that these 3 songs are also similar to Steam Gardens from Mario Odyssey? Mario's in the Zelda universe confirmed! What this illustrates is that musical similarities crop up all over the place. In this case, because of a specific composer's musical signature. Steam Gardens, Dark World, and Song of Storms are all written by Koji Kondo, for example. Kondo's musical style became part of the Zelda musical style, so Yasuaki Iwata wrote Korok Forest in a Kondo-like style. No story connections, no clear references, just musical signature. However, sometimes musical similarities can also be purely coincidental. For instance, did you know that the Flintstones are part of the Zelda canon? Fred Flintstone is Ganondorf confirmed. So when looking for musical callbacks and references, we have to be mindful of the role that musical style, surrounding thematics, and coincidence play in the tunes we recognize. Else we get a lot of false positives. With this in mind, let's look at our 2 examples. Alright, so what are the steps needed to relate 100 years ago to the ending of the second Breath of the Wild 2 trailer? 1. It has to be played in reverse. 2. We have to be a little creative with the notes being played. And 3. We've got to plug bananas in our ears. As Monster Maze has pointed out, the similarities are the melodic shape, which is very generic, just like our Flintstone example, and that both sound a little weird. That's not much to base a connection on, but let's gather some more info before we draw any conclusions. Let's analyze both motifs and try to figure out why they sound like they sound. And if that steers us further into the yay musical reference direction or the nay musical reference direction. Spoiler, it's nay. 100 years ago alternates 2 different shapes. The stacked fourths that are a hallmark of the Breath of the Wild sound. And a different, more crunchy sound using a tritone interval. This interval was historically called the Devil's Interval, because it sounds a bit unstable and crunchy. Not surprising then that the tritone is often used in Zelda games in relationship to antagonists. So 100 years ago may have a subtle connection to Ganon. That's sort of in favor of the 100 years ago equals Breath of the Wild 2 theory. Now let's look at the new trailer motif. Yep, this is tritone town, alright. The tune alternates tritone intervals with semitones. The smallest interval you can usually make in Western music. And an interval that, like the tritone, is also connected to friction. So this fragment is a double dose of extra Ganon, extra crunchy. Of course, the theory was that this should be played in reverse, so let's do that and see if we can find similarities. This doesn't really work for me, but do you know what this does remind me of? The Calamity Ganon boss fight music. walking around in semitones and ending on a tritone. The connection between the Calamity Ganon boss fight music and 100 years ago is clear as day from multiple standpoints. Thematically, both are about Ganon, the same Ganon actually, and musically there's an obvious similarity as well. So, in my opinion, 100 years ago musically has too little in common with the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer music, and thematically only has a small connection. There's a much stronger connection between Breath of the Wild 2 and the Calamity Ganon boss fight music, which leads me to believe that that's what the composers were referring to here. The notes in the Song of Time and the Breath of the Wild 2 fragment that was referred to earlier are seemingly the same, when played in reverse I might add, but rhythmically it's very different and a note has been omitted. If I'd play the segment in reverse exactly like it is, with the correct rhythm and missing note, this is what it would sound like. That doesn't really sound like the Song of Time anymore now. Does it make sense thematically? The only connection that I think is reasonable is the physics rewinding power that Link seems to have, with boulders running back up the hill and drops of water falling upward to where they came from. Would that be enough for the composers to put in a Song of Time reference? Maybe. But for me, it's not a sufficiently strong enough connection to disregard the obvious musical differences. Looking at the way the notes have to be reversed and stretched and omitted, at the uncertain thematic connection, and at the way musical references in Zelda music usually are quite clear once discovered, I'm inclined to join Monster Maze in his conclusion. So, do we have a false positive once again? The short answer is yes. The long answer is yeah.
So there you have it, folks. There's absolutely nothing hidden in Breath of the Wild 2's music.
Well, actually, there is an obvious musical reference in the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. In plain sight, I might add.
Oh? Do tell?
I found a direct musical connection between the main themes of Breath of the Wild and its sequel. It's even got some cool, possible series-wide implications. I've got an entire video about it over on my own channel.
Definitely don't want to steal your thunder, so if you haven't already, go check out Tim's discovery. In general, I highly recommend checking out his channel. Not only has he been kind enough to permit the use of his music to enrich some of my videos, but he also offers tutorials, free sheet music, and even more goodies for his Patreon supporters. So to all the musicians, aspiring musicians, or just video game music enthusiasts among you, Tim's channel is definitely the place to be. Thanks for chiming in on this one, Tim.
Thanks for having me.
So, as you can see, it's... it's very easy to hear similarities in music, but unless you either have experience with the more technical side of music or if the references are undeniable and clear as day, 99% of the time it's just your brain trying to make connections that aren't there. If, for example, you're going into a track with the presumption that this game will take place at least partially during the events of 10,000 years ago, chances are your brain is going to focus on the similarities while ignoring the differences. And while I'm on a ramble anyway, if this is indeed supposed to hint at the story event from 10,000 years ago, why would they use this song specifically? This song is played during the cutscene where King Rome explains what happened 100 years ago, not 10,000. Sure, it shows the tapestry from 10,000 years ago at the very beginning, but that's only a small part of it. I mean, the song is literally called The Events of 100 Years Ago. Funnily enough, there is actually a song called Ancient Folklore, which is played when Impa explains the legend from 10,000 years ago. But I guess that song didn't fit with the trailer music, did it now? Now, before calling it a wrap, I will mention one final thing regarding the music, just in case someone brings it up in the comments. Those weird reversed vocals we hear during this scene in the trailer are still the exact same melody we hear in the first trailer, just sped up significantly. And you'll be pleased to know that there are still no references to other Zelda tracks in here either. Back in 2020, I even joined NintendoBlackCrisis in a video over on his channel, which covers misconceptions about the first Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. And here we also touch upon this specific track. So as opposed to explaining it here all over again, I encourage you to watch that video instead. There are even more videos which make comparisons between the trailer music and music from other games, but these didn't get enough traction for me to devote an entire section to it. I want to reiterate that I have no ill will against any of the people who came up with the ideas covered here, nor any other ideas floating around. I am not like that at all. As a quick example, despite the fact that the Link is dead and Majora's Mask theory has been proven wrong, I still greatly respect MatPat for his creative thinking. It was a fun and exciting theory, and just because it ended up not being true doesn't mean it deserves mockery or hate geared towards him. Zelda theories are just that. Theories. I'm quite certain that at least 90% of the stuff I've predicted or suggested about Breath of the Wild 2 will end up being wrong also. It definitely wouldn't be the first time. I think this person is a woman. The eyeshadow and the face structure definitely seems to hint in that direction.
So you see then.
Zelda theories really are a bit like science. Most of the time you're wrong, or it's very hard to prove something indefinitely, unless Nintendo themselves decide to chime in, which they rarely do. But every once in a while, after countless of incorrect predictions and false assumptions, there could be that one theory which does lead to a breakthrough. So please keep those ideas coming. No theory is stupid. Unless it's the Tetraforce. Thank you for watching. Recently we got ourselves a new trailer for the Breath of the
A special shout out goes to Timdemon for joining me in this video, and of course my amazing Patreons and channel members. Please give a warm welcome to Matt Johnson, Emmy Menk, Jared Whedon, Lepatron 3000, as well as Farmy for rejoining. Your awesomeness cannot be understated. As always, thank you so much for deeming me worthy of your support. And that is all for now. This is Don signing off, and have a good one.